Hi everybody, welcome to Flosstube #1 for this new channel that I'm starting. I will go ahead and preface this with the fact that I have no idea what I'm doing. So this will be a fun journey for all of us together. So first off, my name is Judy. I've chosen the handle District Stitcher. I live in Washington, D.C. You may notice this by the framed print of Washington, D.C. on the wall behind us. It is, in fact, a requirement that if you live in the district, you have at least 2 pieces of artwork in your home that signify that you live in Washington, D.C. It's sort of an unspoken and yet somehow legal requirement. Little bit about me. I am 40. I just turned 48 last year. And last year my long-term partner and I got married. Finally, we've been together for near 14 years now, but we just finally got into a place where we could have the wedding we wanted. So you may hear him occasionally. He is currently playing a Pathfinder game with some friends, so you may occasionally hear his voice in the background. Because we live in Washington, D.C., we live in a condo. It is a 1-bedroom and den, so you will see a lot of, you will see this view, because this is my office craft room, is my nook in the living room. So this is the space that I have to work with. Also, you will see, when I show you here in a second, my any fully finished objects that I have are going to, by and large, be things that can be put on a wall, rather than pillows or small objects that sit on shelves. Space here is at a premium. I'm in a city. So what we do have is very high ceilings, and we have lots of space to put things on walls. So yeah, I have been cross-stitching since I was 11. My grandmother taught me, and I'd gotten out of it for a long time, and then when I first started dating Chris, his grandmother was a huge cross-stitcher, and she had been working on a piece from Lavender and Lace. I believe it's the Frost Angel, and unfortunately she passed away before she could complete it. So it was for my husband's sister, Emily, who I'm also very close with, and I was able to take that, and I kind of retaught myself how to cross stitch, and I finished it. At some point I will get a picture here, but I don't have one to show you today. But at some point I will find a picture of that to share with everybody. So with that, I will move into. It's also understand that if you're looking for really pretty final finishes, this is probably not the channel for you. My hobby is collecting hobbies, so sometimes I get really excited about cross stitch and I'll dive right in, and sometimes I'll be quilting, and sometimes I'll be knitting, and sometimes I'll just not have the energy to do any of that, and I will just sit on the couch and read smutty romance books on Kindle Unlimited. So so that is set your expectations accordingly. In the interim, though, I do have one small, fully finished object that I did. Our condo doors here are metal clad, and we're in a little 4-unit building, sweet neighborhood, and because the door is interior, I don't have to worry about things getting stolen off my door, which does happen to exterior doors when you live in a city. So I always have a seasonal wreath hanging on our door, and I have one for each season. And then I saw these adorable patterns by Waxing Moon Designs, and I will let me pause here for a second, and I'll bring up my screen and show you. Okay, I can't actually figure out how to do that. So I have it as a PDF. And I will try to go back in and insert a picture, because I do know a bit of editing, so hopefully that'll work. But PDFs I actually sit here at my computer because I have a huge monitor. So I will sit here at my computer and cross stitch and like watch Netflix, or something like that, or listen to podcasts. So it is by Waxing Moon Designs, and it's the monthly patterns from, I think they're from 2020. And I just finished January, and I'll go ahead and we'll say I'll put the pattern here, like it's the Daily Show and I'm Jon Stewart and I have the cool news things. And yeah, I dated myself with Jon Stewart on the Daily Show and not Trevor Noah, so I'm 40, deal with it. So this is my finish. It's rainy here today, so the light is terrible. I apologize for that, but I wanted to just go ahead and record my first video and stop putting it off. So this is, again, it's by Waxing Moon Designs, and I did get the Weeks Dye Works floss for it. The green on the scarf called for is actually a different green, I think, from, let me see here. Also, pardon my nails. I haven't done my nails. It's supposed to be Classic Colorworks, Eve's Leaves, but I forgot to order it. So, so instead, I just used a little bit of a different Weeks Dye Works green that was used in the March pattern, I think, mostly. So this is January, and I just, I had some, like, cardboard, and I had a little bit extra quilt batting, so I just put some batting on this, and I laced it poorly, whatever. I am not a perfectionist. And I glued it to the back of this, which is, again, the same cardboard without batting, and I just had a little extra. I have no idea where this fabric even came from. It was in my drawer of scraps. So I matched it up and I used it. When I say drawer, I have all my craft supplies are in this desk is from Container Store. It has these huge deep drawers. So I keep all of my stuff in there. So this is, and then I used just a little bit of ribbon that I got off, I don't know, Amazon. And I just did a little ribbon on it just to make it cute. And I'll show you the back. It's just glued down. The fabric's just glued down with Aleene's. And then I had bought, oftentimes as well, I will buy supplies for some projects that then never materialize because I get distracted. But I have this magnetic tape that is self-adhesive, so it's just magnets, and I put it on the back, and now it sits, if I can figure out how I will put in a picture of what it looks like on my door, it just magnet attaches to our front door, and it sits right inside the seasonal wreath. And the one I have for winter is like these cranberries. It's just a really pretty berry wreath, so that looks really nice. So this is my one FFO. So don't get used to seeing these. I'm really bad at doing it. Although I will say that one of my goals for this year is to take the finishes that I'm about to show you and actually finish them, which would be nice rather than sitting in a bag in one of my drawers like they tend to do. This, I will say, I forgot to tell you, the fabric, I have no idea what it is. It's from a collection of scraps that was from my husband's grandmother. And my sister-in-law had it, and we both do a lot of different crafts. I will say that cross-stitching is probably my strongest. It's my true love, whereas hers is quilting. So I do more cross-stitch, and she does more quilting. And so I inherited the scraps of fabric because it's not, I would use them before she would get around to using them. So there we go. Now, I will go ahead and move into finishes, and when we get into my whips, I'll show you, I am currently working on February, considering we are only like a week away from February. We'll have February done to put on our door. So, but let's get into the finishes that have been sitting in my drawer, and I did actually go through and iron all these the other day to show you guys. These are in no particular order, and I don't actually have out the patterns for them, but I do believe I remember what everything is. Some of these are going to be old enough that I don't know what the fabric is. Some of them are going to be fabric that came with it, and we're just going to have to deal with that as it comes. So this is, let me see if I can get better light on it there. This is Autumn Blue Jay. It is by Kitty and Me Designs. I ended up buying it because it was on sale, I think, at Everything Cross Stitch, and I loved it. I love Blue Jays. I love that they're jerks, and like me, and they're a bit aggressive, and one tortured me when I was a child, because it nested in the tree right outside our back door, and it was an absolute, I'm going to try not to curse on this channel, I do swear like a sailor, so I completely apologize if one slips through, but I will endeavor not to, just in case you happen to have the volume up and you have kids, and, you know, I have nothing against swearing, obviously, but I will try not to, for y'all's sake. So yeah, so this is, just in the called for DMC, but I will say, this little guy had so many color changes, it drove me insane. But I did finish it. I started it on New Year's Eve. We had a really relaxed party with some friends, which was really not even a party. We just all hung out and played board games and ate snacks. And I did some cross-stitch. And it was like a little pajama party because we're all old. But yeah, I like them. I'm going to find, I originally did it because I was thinking of framing it in the hoop, and then I didn't like it in the hoop. So I'm going to try to find, like at a, I don't know, antique store or something, just a little round frame for it, and then I'll stick it on my wall. And this is stitched on Weichelt? I'm never really sure how to say that. I will preface this by saying very quickly that I know French, I know some Russian, and I know some Ukrainian, and I know some Greek, but my pronunciation in any languages that are not any of those are going to be terrible, and I apologize ahead of time. This is Fiddler's cloth, which is, it's structured like Ada, but it has this nice sort of rustic finish to it that I really liked for this. So that is one. Let's see, what's up next? Ooh, this one is pretty. This one I bought during the pandemic, and I bought it off Stitch Modern, which is a really great website for cross-stitch patterns and kits and other embroidery crafts. She has a really great range of things to choose from. This is Firebird, and it's by Gara Designs. Excuse me. I don't have the pattern in front of me, so I can't tell you. She's a Japanese designer. The company is called Gera with an exclamation point, Gara. But I don't remember her name off the top of my head. But this is inspired by Slavic mythology. I know the Russian name for it. I don't remember the Ukrainian name. In Russian, it's the Zarpsitya. And it is, there's a whole folktale about it. And oftentimes what you'll hear in I love Slavic mythology, you'll hear it as Russian mythology, Russian folklore a lot. It's not just Russian. A lot of it, actually, those stories have their origins in Ukraine, in Bulgaria, in a bunch of different countries that sort of have a shared heritage. And so I will most commonly refer to it as Slavic folklore. And this is specifically sort of the sort of like Russian borderland areas. And the story is a firebird comes and steals a golden apple out of an orchard. And this guy who wants to marry the king's daughter, it's the king's golden apple tree, is to go hunt on the firebird or bring a tail feather from the firebird. I don't remember the exact details. But I loved the design of it. I loved, let's see if I can get it up there, the patchwork apple. And this is all done in DMC. I don't remember what this Ada is. It's just a black Ada. That I thought would look nice with it. So I love how she has sort of like a folkloric aspect, but it's sort of very modern in its colors. This next one up is, let me hold it up here. Let's see if I can see it. So this is by, I don't know. It's some lady who lived in Ocean City or retired to Ocean City, hand drew these patterns, and she has a set of them. They're all stretches of the Ocean City, Maryland boardwalk. And I picked it up because my husband grew up in this area, so he has a long history of childhood summers at the Delmarva beach area, the sort of Delaware, Maryland stretch of beaches. And so we go pretty frequently over to Delaware, usually to Fenwick Island or Rehoboth, and we have a good friend now that lives in Rehoboth. So, but we always do at least one night of the Ocean City Boardwalk because the people watching is just, it's just fabulous people watching. And this particular stretch I picked because it had Ocean Gallery. Let me see if I can get this up here for you. So, Ocean Gallery, and you can't really see, but I added a little bit of Krynic there to make it sparkly. Ocean Gallery is this crazy place that just has stuff stuck all over the outside. And it's just this insane place that has, you just buy big art prints and stuff there. But this, the typography print on the wall behind me is actually from Ocean Gallery. We always do a spin through there, just, tradition's sake. But this actually, I stitched this for my husband. I've yet to find a frame for it because it's longer than I anticipated it would be. But I'm very fond of it. So at some point I will figure out how to finish it. This next one up is, and I bought that at, I believe the store is called Sea Needles. So the Ocean City Boardwalk actually has a needle shop that's right on the boardwalk. And there's no needle shops in Washington, D.C. There's no needlework stores. I'd have to go out to, I think, Leesburg, Virginia. And honestly, what I do is I just hit up might not be Sea Needles. Sea Needles might be the one that's in Bethany Beach. But there's a couple different needlework shops that are in that area of Delaware. And so I'll hit them up when we're on vacation. And that's as close as I really get to a local needlework store. This next one is a Dimensions kit, and I think it was a Dimensions Gold. And I want to say it's Felix the Forgetful. I'm not really sure. I stitched it a while ago. The finish date on this is 2013, so you can see how long it's been sitting in a drawer, not being fully finished. And this is a kit that I actually bought when Chris and I were first dating. I bought it to reteach myself cross-stitch before I took on his grandmother's project. And there you go. It was a kit dimension, so it's DMC, and it's the Ada that came with it. And I did, there was a lot of swearing when it came to these black bits on the black Ada. A lot of swearing. But yeah, I think it turned out nice. I've toyed with maybe making it a pillow. I'm not really sure. Maybe like a couch pillow and giving it to my mom or something. Next up is Swan Lake, and this I just finished last year. I think I finished it in November, October, and this is another Gira pattern. And this is stitched in DMC. It is on Christmas Red Ada. I think all my Ada, aside from the stuff that came with kits, the last two I showed you I think are 14 count. These are, the Gira ones are 18 count. No, sorry, 16. And this is Swan Lake. Which I love the moons up top. They make me happy. Even if the giant swan princess is on, it's like kind of creepy. And then this is the last finish I have to show you. It is, I have to go bake. I love the Great British Bake Off. I mean, honestly, who doesn't? They're just so nice and so sweet. And this I did is a Bothy Threads kit. Bothy? I think it's Bothy. Sounds Bothy. Sounds British. And to any English people watching this, I'm so sorry. I needed to do a Pogsy accent. And this is just the threads and Ada that came with the kit. But I love it. It's so pretty. It's just very... Let's sit on this side so maybe we'll adjust the color better. It just, it was cheerful and it was very quick to stitch, which was nice too. So yeah, I'm going to frame it. I'm either going to try to find a little blue frame for it, or I'm just going to get an old frame and spray paint it. So those are finishes. Let me just... Oop, they're going everywhere. I'm sorry, I'm a mess. Get those out of the way. So those are my finishes. And next up I will... Sorry for the noise. I have stuff everywhere. It looks all nice and organized behind me, and I just want you to understand that this is a lie. I'm not at all organized. So let me just get a sip of my coffee. All right. Let's move into whips. Currently I usually rotate between about 3 projects. It'll be whatever's on my stand, whatever's in my Q-snap, and whatever's in whatever embroidery hoop I happen to find laying around. I don't have any method to my madness. I think it's fun to watch on Flosstube. I like to watch like Janet Jabber and others who like stitch seasonally. I think that's really interesting. And I think Stitching by the Shore does that too. Like a couple people will do that, and I think it's really fun to watch them. I instead will just stitch on whatever I feel like stitching whenever I feel like stitching it. I don't set goals for myself. I'm highly organized in a lot of different aspects of my life, but when it comes to hobbies, I don't want them to be that highly organized, because if they are, then it starts to feel like a chore, like work, and I don't want to do that. Because then I'll just get burned out on it, because I have to be so highly organized with other aspects of my life. That's just too much. So, what I do instead is, I honestly just stitch on whatever I feel like stitching whenever I feel like stitching it. And usually I will go through and just finish whatever is in one of those frames, because having to take it off the frame and having to take it off the stand and having to take it off that and just put another one on is just a giant pain in the butt, and I don't want to do it. So, in that aspect, I tend to get stuff finished. There are 2 whips that I will show you that are not currently being worked on, and I'll explain why when I get to them. So first up is this pattern, and this is Solitary Skater, and it is done from a P. Buckley Moss artwork. And P. Buckley Moss, she is an artist that was really well known in like the 80s and early 90s for her sort of Virginia inspired folk art. And this is a pattern from 1984. It was in my husband's grandmother's stuff. His aunt is highly organized, and she had all of her mother's stuff collected together in like a pattern, like a binder full of patterns. Binder full of women. Binder full of patterns. And, Emily and I went through and picked up a couple that we might want to do. And something about this one, I'm originally from Western Pennsylvania, from about an hour south of Pittsburgh. And this even though she's a Virginia artist, it just reminded me a lot of Western Pennsylvania, because there's a lot of, old brick buildings and things. So this just looks so much like gray Western Pennsylvania winters to me. So I am working on this. I'd originally thought about, because this is from 1984, it's just charted in DMC pretty much. And I thought about going through and replacing all that with overdyed threads, and then because I can't really get into a needlework store and look at it very easily, it just didn't really work out. So I'm stitching it on 32 count Silvery Moon Lugana, and this is where I am. I just started with the house. I started this over Christmas. And this Silvery Moon Lugana is so nice to stitch on. And I'm just doing it in DMC. So blends and all. So the roof part is a blend between ecru and, I don't know, some light blue. So there, yeah. I don't know where the needle minder is from. My sister-in-law got it for me, because I also do photography. So she bought this for me. And that's where I am on that. And so that's a nice stitch, but I don't have a printer, and so I don't really make working copies. And this leaflet, I won't show you the pattern, but I will show you, it folds out, and the pattern's on the back of here. So I stitch on it when I have room to set it down so I can look at it. So that is that one. And I realized that I don't have anywhere to put what I already showed you. This next one is a Dimensions kit, and it is a stocking. And this is what the finished stocking looks like. I'm doing this for my grandniece. My niece is in her mid-20s and has a little girl. And my grandniece is now 4. She just turned 4 in December. So I am going to stitch this for her for next Christmas. And I decided not to stitch the name. I'm instead I have a bunch of felt, so I'm going to cut out the letters of her name, which is Mia. It's M-I-A. So I'm just going to cut out the letters in felt and stitch it on. But I just thought this was so cute. I love the little cartoony aspect of it. I love how colorful it is. This is currently, I don't know how well I'm going to be able to show you, because it is currently on my stand, and my stand is nothing fancy. It is a cheap stand that I got off Amazon because I wanted a stand. And because it's a stocking and I had to start up top, it's actually I had to use masking tape and just tape it down to the stand so it would stop tugging free, because the top of this mottled red up here is all it's 5 strands half stitch, which was a pain in the butt to pull through that Ada. So this is, let me see if I can check. Oh, that actually worked pretty well. So there you go. That's where I'm at. And because it's on a stand, I'm just doing all the backstitch and stuff as I go down, because I'm not going to want to go back and do it. And there's no beads or anything to tug free, so I'm just doing the stitch. I like the pale blue. It's a pale blue Ada that comes with the kit, and I like the pale blue stitches on it. And then also there's camera doesn't really pick it up, but there's some pale blue half stitch around here for shadowing that makes a really nice effect. The needle minder I got for Christmas, and I believe it's from Stitch Modern, because I've seen it on the Stitch Modern website. I don't remember who makes it, but it was part of a Christmas gift. So that's that one. This next one is, and I've seen someone else who's working on it, and I don't remember who it is. But it's someone I follow on Flosstube is working on this as well. And this is Dockside Quilts. It is a Design Works kit. My pattern is all messed up. Again, I don't make working copies, I'm not going to stitch this again. Like I don't know all that many people who do cross stitch, and Emily and I don't stitch the same thing that the other person stitches. And just for variety, so whatever. And this is Dockside Quilts. I picked it up, I think I actually picked it up from that store that's on the Ocean City boardwalk. But I loved it. It reminded me of Maine. And I used to work summers up in Maine, at a summer camp. And I love Maine. I love it specifically reminded me a lot of Camden, Maine. Because the big boating industry there, like they have more sailmakers than they have stoplights. In Camden, it's just a sweet little town. And I just adore it up there. So it reminded me of that. And also I just love the little quilts. I will say though, I don't like the thread that comes with DesignWorks. I mean, I'm using it, but I don't really like it that much. And this is not currently on my stand. It's not actually currently being worked on. I got a little burned down on it. And I had moved it off the stand because I was using my stand for a rug hooking project, which I may show you at some point. Rug hooking is just where you take strips of wool felt and you pull it through like burlap and make little loops, and it's neat. But you really you can't like do it in hand or anything. You really, really need some kind of stand for it. But I will show you where I am. This is the Ada that came with the kit. It's very pretty, but this is where I kind of stopped the stitching over here. I go square by square, and do it. Otherwise, I will absolutely lose track of where I am. But there you go. Dockside quilts. I will say this roof here caused me like an existential crisis, because the thread is a lot closer to, like, the thread colors are a lot closer than they look in the picture. And I had a hard time figuring out what was what. It drove me a little insane. This next one I actually was originally stitching. It's not a design that I would necessarily have picked. I don't really do a lot of the Japanese style stuff, especially unless it's from a Japanese designer. Otherwise, it feels like it kind of strides the boundary of cultural appropriation in a way that I'm not really comfortable with. But it had been requested by my mom's boyfriend at the time, a gentleman that I really, really liked, and he passed away in 2017. He was in a motorcycle accident, and it wasn't the accident itself. It was, he had an underlying heart condition, and so I stopped for a while because that was a hard time for us. And it was a really hard time for my mom, and so I hadn't picked it back up. But now I am going to complete it, and I'm going to frame it and give it to my mom because she liked it a lot. But this is by Joan Elliott, and it is Summer Geisha, which, again, that's not really, I don't know. I have mixed opinions on it. It is a very pretty pattern, though, and it is a very pretty, like, end result. And then when I am finished with it, I plan to give it to my mom along with a donation to, I forget the name of the foundation, but they do some stuff to kind of stop hate against Asian American and Pacific Islander Americans. So that is also very important to me. So, and I didn't get super far in it. This is just got a bit of her face and started on the umbrella before I stopped. This is, I don't know what this fabric is. It's an even weave. I believe it is 32 or 36 count. It's just this pale blue color that I thought would look nice with it. And then we get to the area where I hope I can figure out how to edit in a photo. This is February, so just like the Waxing Moon Designs January, this is February. I just realized that these scraps are actually slightly different count, so they're going to be different sizes on my door. Whatever, I don't care. Yep, this is February. I've got some fun, some old Riley Blake fabric. This is, I can't read, Sweet Cakes by Riley Blake. And so this is what it'll be framed on. And there's a little gopher. If I can't figure out how to put the photo in, it's a little gopher. Not gopher, groundhog. Are they the same thing? I don't know. But it's a groundhog, because Groundhog Day. And then it's got a little envelope with little hearts, like love letters. The needle minder, actually, my friend made for me on New Year's Eve. She got a bunch of bulk enamel pins clipped off the back, glued on a magnet while we were talking. And so by the time I left on New Year's Eve, I had a little needle minder. So those are my whips, and I'm keeping this just a little over half an hour, which is good. I'm going to try to keep it fairly reasonable in length for folks to watch. So I will just go into the next couple projects that I have planned, and then we will go ahead and wrap up Flosstube number 1. So this is by Butternut Road. And it is a pattern that I have been eyeing for years. And so I finally just picked it up. And this is Christmas Visit. Let's see if I can get it in a way that will focus on it. Come on. There we go. So, as you can see, this is actually stitched on a fairly light fabric. And that the door, behind her and the bushes are all done in this pale blue thread. And I wanted, when I looked on like Instagram and things, everyone is stitched it on some variation of beige or mocha, off-white, some kind of light fabric. And I wanted something a little more intense, and I wanted something a little more, it's called a Christmas Visit. So I wanted it to feel a little more Christmassy. So I went in a completely different direction. And I picked up this fabric from Picture This Plus. And it is called something Huntress. But it's opalescent. And it's a little more plum than I thought it would be. But I think it works out. I put the floss on it, and it's just so sparkly. And so pretty. So it's this fabric. And I think that this will, I'm not going to get out the threads because I don't want to rustle all the bags around. The red does actually pop fairly well on this. But really that blue with the door and the bushes are really going to stand out. And I think that it'll just make it really nice and special and Christmassy. And if it doesn't work out, then I will use this for something else. The other planned thing, this is again, hopefully I will be able to put in a picture here, but I'm going to be doing Leslie Tier's Spring Blue Tit. And there's a whole bunch of patterns. I love Leslie Tier. I used to subscribe to this British magazine called Cross Stitcher. Not Cross Stitcher. No, sorry. Cross Stitch Collection. I do subscribe to Cross Stitcher. but it was called Cross Stitch Collection, and it was this great magazine, and they had all these wonderful patterns. And I got it digitally because it was, it's a UK magazine. And then, like, the app changed, the ownership of the company changed, and so you couldn't, if you updated the app, you couldn't access any of the old issues that you'd already bought. And then you had to, like, rebuy them, and it would only go back so far. And then the magazine closed down altogether, and everything was deleted. So, anyway, for a while, that pattern and the Joan Elliott, they used to always have Joan Elliott's in there, and that Summer Geisha pattern was from that magazine, and I was stitching it on an original generation iPad, which I could never get rid of because it was so old it wouldn't update the app. So therefore I had access to the old patterns, but it's so old and it's just so slow and it crashes all the time. And so I'm like, fine, I'll just rebuy the whatever. I'll just buy the patterns again. Whatever. I just finally caved. So I bought a bunch of Leslie Tier patterns because I like how she does florals and wildlife. And I will be stitching this spring blue tit on this. If I picture this plus, it is confetti. It's 28 count opalescent casual linen. And it has this nice blue green. I think on the back you can actually see the sort of blue pops to it, like right here. Pull it back a bit, you might see it better. Yeah, there we go. And this, it just seemed very springy, and I think it'll look really nice. I'll try to insert a picture here so you can see the pattern. Again, I don't stitch off an iPad, I stitch off my computer, so I stitch off my PC. And I have it up on the screen behind where I'm recording this video where you can't see it. And then the last thing that I'm planning is The Year in the Woods. I saw Hannah Dowling, I think her name is. I don't remember what her Flosstube channel is. I'm sure you all know. But I saw her stitch this and I just absolutely loved the pattern. So I went, and then I'm a completionist, so I bought the entire series. But I will start with the box. And then I realized that this fabric is hard to get, that it called for. So I got, what is this? Dwarf casual linen fabric. I don't remember what the color was, but it's picture this plus. I literally just went through all the blues until I found one that I liked, and that I thought was close-ish to the original. So, but I liked it. I know it's like Vintage Country Mocha is sort of the backup fabric for all of them, but with all the browns and stuff and the fox, I wanted it on a blue fabric, because I want all the sort of orangey browns to really pop against the blue. And then the rest of them I'll probably choose fabric project by project rather than do how they called for with the different, like, one color fabric for each season. I will instead probably just pick out whatever fabric color I think goes well with it. So that is right at about 45 minutes. That is Flosstube number 1. Hopefully I did not mess this up, because if I messed up the recording today, I am absolutely not going to go back and record it again today. So hopefully this worked out. And I appreciate all of you. I probably plan to do recordings. I'm not going to do weekly. I'm not a fast enough stitcher to have stuff to show weekly. We might shoot for bi-weekly, maybe monthly, but probably bi-weekly. Probably at the start and end of a month. So, because by then I will have things to show you. So it won't just be me going, look at these 10 stitches I did. So yeah. And in further episodes, there may be more geeky talk. Like I said, my husband is playing a Pathfinder game right now. I run 2 D&D games online for friends. That's Dungeons and Dragons, for anyone who doesn't speak nerd. I'm a big video gamer. We don't have children. My role in life is the village auntie. I will babysit your children and teach them terrible habits and then give them back. I love kids, though. Kids are great. I always worked with kids. But we don't have any, so I have a lot of free time. So, which I mean, I pretty much just, I work, and because I telework, so I don't really have a commute anymore. So I have, fairly long afternoons, after work. So I have plenty of stitching and craft time. So anyway, that's been me. Again, my name is Judy. I live in Washington, D.C., and you've been watching District Stitcher. Thanks for coming.